Hi everybody, I'm Phil Smyth and welcome to my in-depth reviews of Tai Lopez's Business Entrepreneur Accelerator program. This is step number 5, and this one's about picking a workplace. Right off the top, he starts in with a Charlie Munger quote. Again, that's why I didn't pick Munger as the drinking game. Too much. So, Munger's quote was about avoiding extreme ideologies. Now, you might think that's a bizarre place to put that quote when we're talking about workplaces, but presumably people have extreme ideologies about where your workplace should be. Going to classical business theory, there's 3 kind of phases or factors of production. And one of those is capital, the other is labor, the money, the people to do the work, and the third is land. Now that's in classical economics. Most entrepreneurs are focused on labor and capital, and I think quite rightly so, but Tai says people forget about land. Now if you're a farmer or something that's obviously about the land, that's different, but I'm assuming most of you are not. So some people have extreme ideologies, and what they think is that you are black or white in what you should be doing. And he says that there's people that will say you should never ever get an office, ever. And I don't know that there's anybody really like that, but okay. For the sake of argument, I'll say that it's true. And Tai says, it's a cool idea, of course, to think that you're never ever going to get an office. But he thinks that a money tree is also a cool idea, but you can't have a tree that grows money. Now, a little of my own diversion here, that Tai often talks about this extreme ideology in black and white, and people think it's this or that. I don't really know many people in the real world that are so extreme about their feelings, especially when it comes to work and especially entrepreneurs, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt throughout the rest of this course, and I won't bring it up again. So there's 3 options when you're talking about your workplace, and option number 1 is work from home, or work out of the garage or whatever. Pros and cons of that, of course, number 1, no traffic. Usually the cost is a bit lower. You already have the home and the garage or whatever, one would presume. Or as Tai says, you can work out of your guest house. And, there's some cons though. You can only get so many people into your apartment and, or your garage. And there are some legal issues. They're not, liability insurance. If you have people coming in or customers coming in, you should have liability insurance. You know what I mean? Now, you have to have liability insurance anyway in your office. So it may be slightly harder to get liability insurance from a home office, but not always. But it's also harder to attract people to come and work for you. There are a group of people who don't want to come and work for you out of your home. They think that it's not a real business. So that's fair enough. So option number 2 that Tai points out is this co-working space, where you can go in and you kind of share a receptionist and you have offices around it, you have that kind of thing. There's some pros of that, of course. You get an office, but it's cheaper at the start, because one of the cons of a real office space is the initial financial outlay and the long-term lease aspect. The cons of co-working spaces are that, it's higher monthly rate, and there's certainly a lack of privacy, a little bit of a lack of security, and, if you have people come over and they know you're in a co-location space, I don't know how much better that is than working out of your home, certainly here, like for me, I work out of my home. I'll come right out and say it. I work out of my home. Don't come and work out of my home. I work out of my home. But here where I live in Japan, most of the time I'm here and I have this amazing fiber optic connection. And one of the only reasons I can think is to move to an office is you get a better connection, but I have a pretty amazing connection here. And option number 3 is office, of course, a traditional office. Tai has changed his mind from before when he thought, you only go to an office if you have to. He now thinks you should move to an office quicker. Partly, I think that his change in attitude is because of his change in circumstances, but there you go. So there's pros and cons of a traditional office space. The pros, as again, it's easier to attract a certain kind of talent, like certainly higher level marketing and C-level, people like CEOs, COOs, and so on. Those people who are truly should be at that level from their experience, they might feel more comfortable if there's an office space. It doesn't seem so flighty. It does get you focused because you have separation. You can say, this is where I go to work. Co-location or co-working spaces also have that benefit. Because one of the big downsides of working from your home or your garage or someplace that's right here is, when do you stop working? That's a real big problem. A real big problem. So having an office space gets you focused, gives you separation, does help to prevent burnout. The cons of an office, of course, you have to sign a lease, you have money down, you have deposits, you have insurance, you have perhaps outfitting the office. So those are certainly some of the downsides of the office space. But as Tai says, you can mix and match. If you need an office, you can have an office, but you yourself could work from home if you don't have to go to the office all the time, if you have that level of company. And one of the most important things is not to give yourself a commute. And this is very true, and it's the biggest pro of working from home, or it is, you don't have a commute. But you should always try to find, if you're going to find an office, try and find an office that's close. You don't want to be driving an hour to and from work. This is a real, proven stress maker and life killer, is the commute. And you're an entrepreneur. We got into this, partly because we wanted to do our own thing. So why are you doing that to yourself and getting an office distant? Tai talks about, he has this 2-mile rule. I don't know, can't remember the conversion between miles and kilometers. I live in kilometers, but Tai has this 2-mile rule where he says, you have everything important within the 2 miles. It's very interesting what he talks about being important. He has a movie theater, grocery store, and his dentist within 2 miles. Personally, I don't care where my dentist is. So I'm not going to the dentist that often. So one of the things that Tai doesn't talk about in this, and part of me doing a review is for me to kind of comment on, where I think the downfalls and what Tai talks about are. And in this one in particular, Tai doesn't seem to realize that in this day and age, often companies are globally spread out. I have a small workforce, and none of them are in my country, forget about my city. So having an office just seems kind of bonkers in this particular case. And I know many people who have moving startups, they're certainly into the revenue stage, and they don't have an office because they're all over, certainly all over the United States. I know quite a few people like that, or all over the world even. So you have to figure that out as well. Don't get an office if you don't need an office. Tai says, if you're 10 years into your business and you're still working from home, you're doing something wrong. I don't necessarily, that's an extreme ideology, in my opinion. I don't subscribe to that. So, and he says, well, Steve Jobs isn't in a garage, but it was logical to go to an office, maybe if it's not always. So there we go. That's my opinion. And that's the end of this stage. So let's get to his questions. Number 1 is, what office stage are you currently in? Are you currently working from home? Are you currently co-location or co-working space, or are you in your own office? Number 2, what do you like about the home versus office, office versus home debate? And these are questions, I don't ask you to write them into the video because I don't care, but these are questions you should be thinking about. And number 3, what's the next step for you as far as your workspace? Are you going to stay at home, stay in the office, etc., etc.? So that's it for step number 5 of my in-depth review of the Tai Lopez Business Accelerator program. Stick around for step number 6. Hope you're liking these videos. Leave a comment if you want. I try and answer as much as possible. See you soon. I'm Phil Smythe.